Bareback rider Dean Thompson, a great performance at the rodeo in Tucson, winning the two-head average. Didn't win a round, but won the aggregate. And Dean Thompson joins us. Congratulations on Tucson, Dean. Is this how many times have you? Because last year was your rookie year. How many times had you actually been to Tucson?
So Tucson's kind of a funny story for me. I went there on my permit year and got on bad influence in the short round. There, I had been college rodeoing and been bustling back and forth between different places and ran there for the short round. And I've never taken a worse beating in my entire life than Tucson rodeo. And I would think I was like 63 points or something like that on that bad influence horse. And then last year, I got checking the stock right before I went over there, and it was the only rodeo I turned out of last year. So I'd actually only been one time because I didn't love my horse last year, and then this year, what a heart stopper to check the draw and see that I drew bad influence in Tucson again
Yeah.
for the long round, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, you got a chance here to really redeem yourself, and went good in the first round. I was 87 on that horse that really made me look like a fool. So that felt good to get a little revenge.
Yeah. They marked the horse 43. You were 44 on that 87-point ride. Ended up third in the long round. So what was the difference, Dean? Have you improved as a bareback rider over the last couple of years? What was the difference?
Oh man, it almost seems like it, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. That horse, we had some issues in Colorado Springs again this last year. She kind of smashed me, and going into that one, I knew, this is a horse that can really put a beat down on a guy. And so I think the difference going into that one was just knowing what she was. I mean, having a couple years of experience under my belt and knowing that those horses like that, there's a big part of riding them correctly is just riding them for what they are, and not overexposing yourself and just taking care of business. I mean, it might not be flashy and explosive, but if you stay fast and stay aggressive through the whole ride, they're horses you can win on. I mean, especially because they're going to pack the score. I'm like you said, she's going to be 43, 44 points. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you can match that score, all of a sudden you're 88, 89.
absolutely.
There you are in a big check. You got on amped up from Butler in the short round. You were 86. Bradley Miller was a half point ahead of you, 86 and a half. Tell me about that horse.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I got to looking into that horse the day before I got down there to Tucson short round, and she looked okay. She didn't have a whole. I think she had 3 stockouts on all of Pro Rodeo, and so hadn't been around much. The videos that I did see, she tried hard. She tried really hard, but she bucked a lot of guys off. Really manhandled a few guys. And the one video I saw, she dumped a guy, and right as soon as she dumped him, I mean, she was straight up and down, just incredible, bucking. And so I was like, oh, this looks like it's got potential for sure.
Yeah.
So I got there, was walking around behind the chutes looking for my horse, and was like, "Hey Benny, which one's that amped up?" And he points at her right when she runs, and he's like, "That's her." And I walked over there to put my stuff on her, and this horse was probably between 700 and 850 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's not a big horse. I knew that.
it was so small. I went to put my stuff on it, and I was looking down at it, and I was like, I bet I'm every bit a quarter of this horse's weight. I couldn't believe it. I was second guessing. I was like, well, I guess we'll see if she bucks. And
Yeah.
she went out there the first jump, and it was pretty incredible. I could feel her jump in the air, get really high on her front end, and then she was almost reaching, trying to find her feet because I was pulling her back so much weight on her hind end that she was really unsure what was going on. And then that second jump, she kind of found her feet and figured out her balance the rest of the ride and was just phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm looking at stock stats. Chad Rutherford was 84 and a half on the horse in Austin last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if this isn't a misprint, Josh Park, they really marked the horse high with a fellow named Josh Parker in Tucson last year. Did you talk to Chad about the horse at all? Or
I saw both those videos. With Chad, she was good. With Josh Parker, she was exceptional.
yeah,
She was phenomenal. She bucked him off about 3 seconds into the ride, and then you can kind of see it when I double grab on her, but she really knows how to buck. She's just tiny.
Yeah. Uh, uh, she was stock market report material on that ride. She was 24 out of 25 from both judges. So that was in. So you finished 13th in the world standings last year. You're 6th right now. You made it to your first NFR, won about $40,000 almost at the National Finals Rodeo. What'd you learn from your trip to Las Vegas last December?
Holy cow. I think I could write a book about everything I learned in those 10 days over there. Going to Vegas is a couple things I learned. I think I learned that I never want to miss it again. That's a rodeo unlike anything I've ever been to in my life. It's the real deal. You know, it's you go into that thinking that it's going to be the national finals and realizing it's going to be more nerves and more on the line than any rodeo you've ever been to. But what you don't realize is how in your face it is. It becomes your entire world from the time you get down there for the next 2 weeks. You know, it becomes everything in your life. And so the crazy part about it is it's really easy to get wrapped up in the nerves and the hustle and bustle of Las Vegas. But man, there's nothing more fun than that rodeo. I think that's one thing I learned was that I never, ever want to have Vegas going on without my name up there until I'm done. But
Yeah.
other thing I learned about it was that, man, you just really have to stick to your guns there. The last thing you can do, I think, in Vegas is probably start to doubt yourself. I had some rigging problems in round 3 and double grabbed on a horse, and then I got called for a slap in round 7, which was kind of a controversial call, I thought. But going through Vegas, those rounds like that really they want to weigh on you. You know, you have a hard time sleeping at night when you go back to the hotel, and I think that's the one thing I just kept telling myself was, you know, I made it here. It wasn't by accident. So there's no way whatever I'm doing now, I'm going to try and change anything. I'm definitely going to try and ride better every night, but there's no way I'm going to start second guessing what I've done all year long.
Dean, let me ask you, this maybe is my dumb question in the interview, but I'm going to toss it out there. When did it hit you? When did it really, was there a moment, back number presentation night, bareback riders aren't involved in the parade of the states thing. You guys are behind the bucking chutes getting ready, but you know, that opening night when they played Viva Las Vegas, was there one moment when it was like, oh my God, I'm really here?
Oh yeah. I think that I felt the full effect of it, or most of it, probably at the back number ceremony. I've never felt just so tense, just standing there, ready to go get that number. You know, it's so crazy. It's just like the pressure of the world is just on your shoulders because you know what's going to happen over the next 10, 11 days. And I think between that and my first round, I was actually in the back, and you know, the NFR is such a tight run show that I was getting my rigging on. I had changed Latigos a couple days beforehand, and oh, what a stupid mistake to do at the finals. But I was trying to get my rigging on back there. Viva Las Vegas was playing up there in the front, and they were hollering at me. They're like, you need to have this thing tied in the back because you're rolling in and then you're bucking.
Yeah.
And I was in a frantic mess.
You would have been like the second or third guy out, if I remember right, because you went 15th, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think I was second or third, and man, first horse turned out backwards, and I got a re-ride, and then holy cow, it was game on. That's for sure. It was definitely some of the most stressful rigging setting I've ever done. But yeah, I think to answer your question, Steve, I do think that I tried to prepare myself right after I knew I'd made it. I sat down every morning and said, all right, man, you did it. You made it to the biggest show in the world, but making it there doesn't count for much unless if you show up while you're there. I think that it's impossible to prepare yourself for for what you're gonna feel and the emotions you're gonna feel, but it is understandable to realize that you're gonna feel some things you've never felt before, and I took that going in, so it didn't catch me completely off guard. But by the time the back number ceremony rolled along, man, I was shaking in my shoes.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I've watched a lot of guys. I've had a lot of people tell me the same thing, that back number ceremony, or when they're if they're one of the timed eventers or a bronc rider or a bull rider, when they go right into the arena, and their state is announced, that's the moment. It's like, wow, I did it here. The back number ceremony is it for a lot of guys. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question you've never been asked by me, at least. You list on your prorodeo.com bio hobbies: snow skiing, snowmobiling, fly fishing, learning, and journaling. Dean's one of the really fun guys to interview, folks, just so you understand. Every day during Vegas, were you writing stuff down? Were you keeping track of that journey while you were there?
Oh man, absolutely. I sat down after I got done with Vegas because luckily I had the first hour or two of my day every morning. Wasn't going to autograph signings, wasn't doing any interviews. I made sure to leave those hours open so that I could get up and go work out and move a little bit, just because I knew that was going to relieve some of the stress that I felt, and sit down and write for a little while, because man, there's nothing like being your own counselor, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's every morning I had the opportunity to sit down and write for probably 10 or 15 minutes and just outline what my game plan was for that day and for that night, more than anything. I like to look at how the horses that I was getting on, I like to look at how they buck. I don't really like to look at what they're going to do. Those are two different things. But once you sit down and watch a horse, you can realize, this one's going to be a little bit more rapid. She might be in a left lead. She might be in a right lead. She might change leads every other jump. But once you realize how a horse bucks, it's something that I would do. I'd sit down, game plan that, check or evaluate last night, look at what I did right, look at what I did wrong, and then spend some time, at the NFR especially, probably more than anything, spend some time really emphasizing what I did right and how I can do more of that, because it's like I said, the last thing you want to do at the NFR is start saying, wow, I did a lot more things wrong than I did right, and I need to change everything right now. But I was thankful to be able to write every morning, and when I got done with it, I sat down and thought, man, I really need to write a whole, 10, 15, 20 page ensemble about my first NFR, because it feels like I learned more in 10 days than I learned in the last 2 years.
What you just said is a metaphor for life, Dean. You know that. I mean, if you focus on everything you do wrong, you forget about all the stuff you do right. I do the same thing. I announce a rodeo and I'll sit around and pick myself apart for 5 words that I said that were wrong when, overall the night went pretty well. So, I mean, it's like I said, you just echoed a metaphor for life, right there, young man.
Mm.
So, what's next?
Well, me is Houston. And what a good time. I'm pretty thankful to be coming off Tucson, the champion, headed into the highest paying rodeo of the year. I'll be in Houston Friday, Saturday, Sunday, March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I'm hoping to go over there and do some damage, at the very least, ride as good as I can. And then I'll hang out for a while and enjoy Texas, enjoy that weather, and then go ahead, hit a few more. I think I'll buzz around to fly around and then hit Austin and hang out till the end of Houston, if I'd make it back for that, and go to a few rodeos and then fly home for a little bit.
I wish I could make you a promise about the weather. It was 91 degrees in my hometown 2 days ago, and today we're spitting snow. So I have no idea what to tell you. We're 400 miles north of Houston, so it'll be different down there. Dean Thompson, congratulations on Tucson. Continued success. I'm always rooting for you, and go get him at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
Thanks so much, Steve.